Hi, hello everyone. I'm Todd Nauck. Welcome to the Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page, Art of Todd Nauck Show here on Facebook Live. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching on YouTube. So, hope everyone's doing well. Had some free time, so I thought I'd do another art broadcast. And this time I wanted to put something on this Invader sketch cover. A friend of mine gave me this Invader sketch cover at C2E2. And so I thought, who could I draw on here? I figured, let's go with one of the Invaders. And look at there, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. Super popular character. So I thought it'd be fun to draw him on this sketch cover. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I want to say thanks for everyone joining me. And as always, feel free to post your questions. I'll do my best to answer as I draw. But a lot of my focus goes into the art. So don't lose heart. Don't give up. And please feel free to post. And as always, hope and plan to do a Q&A at the end of the show so I can hopefully catch some of the questions y'all have posted. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the likes, gang. I really appreciate it. So let's flip this camera around and get to drawing. Let's just jump right into it. Let's see, well, which one am I going to start with here? Actually, I prefer to start with my 0.5 HB lead in my Pentel Twist Erase mechanical pencil. I also have the 0.3 Uni Kuritoga mechanical pencil, but this is for finer details. But when I'm just breaking down the figure, I don't need that fine of a point of lead. Where can you get these sketch covers to draw on? Get them at your local comic shop. Or you can buy them online as well. You can search eBay and things like that. So yeah, these are just variants that comic shops will order. So you can even ask your comic shop to order them for you. Some of them are, they're a variant, so there's not as many printed. So sometimes they can cost more than cover price. Oftentimes they do anywhere from $5 to $20 each. So let's just start kind of roughing in some shapes here. So I got him hunkered down, so his head is lowered, his neck foreshortens behind his head here to his shoulder area. I want to put that left arm forward because that middle arm is the money arm. So a lot of thought goes into breaking down the character. Now you can see I just put tons of scribbles on here. Am I using reference? Not for the pose here, no. I am just strictly going out of my head here. Just whatever I can imagine. I kind of sought to do a pose like this as I was prepping for the show. A lot of thought, a lot of the brain power goes into putting the pose together here. So sorry I'm not quite as chatty as I usually am. This is the heavy thinking mode. Trying to get the arms to fit correctly, or as believably as possible, I should say. So the more I scribble, the more he starts to take shape. drop in some knuckles there as the hand starts to take on more form. Sometimes I put in too many scribbles, and I've got to erase some so I can see what I'm actually drawing. Okay, actually, I'm going to change things up here a little bit. I don't like how he's holding this rifle, but I like the initial idea of the pose. So instead of having him hold a rifle with both hands, and this is the nature of the business here, you start with an idea and then you discover something new you want to do. And sometimes it's better to change course before you're too pot committed. It's a poker term there, where you've put too many chips into the betting pot, the betting pool, and now you can't fold your hand because you've already invested too much into it. So before I've invested too much into that hand, let's do it this way. Let's have him holding a pistol over here instead. I think I'll like how this looks better design-wise, and also utilizing the space as well. See, I have him off looking to the opposite direction of the direction he's pointing his gun. Just, I think, tells maybe a little bit more of a story. Makes you wonder what did he hear? What got his attention over to his left? But he's aiming his gun over at the right, or maybe he's going to swing his gun around and pop a cap off to the left. So this is why we really do a roughed out sketch stage. So you can make these changes as necessary, as needed. And this other arm. Maybe he's holding some sort of incendiary device. Okay, I got to rework this area down here. Belt buckle. So got the straps, got the collar. Got those 3 pouches he wears on the front. His jersey. So still really scribbly, really just doing a lot of thinking while I'm drawing. I kind of had an idea of his pose in my mind, and then as I start putting the lines down on paper, I start to make some edits as I go. I start to make different choices for what I think would look better or what I'd prefer to draw. So it gets really messy. But I'm going to clean it all up in inks. Let's get the banded metal going on his arm here. Start to put some detail into his face here. Star going there on his shoulder. Start to work in some highs. Rework the face here. No, still not right. Let's try that again. That's the angle I think I want. Let's try that one more time. I think I need to have them maybe looking a little more up. The nose in here. So I haven't been able to take a single question yet, gang. This is once I get to the inking stage. After I've figured out the puzzle here, I'll be able to address some questions as I draw. Alright, now I'm starting to feel more comfortable with the pose and what I want to happen here. Let's see if I can get this hand a little more worked out. Alright, Alright, I think I'm at a point there where now I can start doing some inks. So, how's everybody doing? I hope everyone's doing well. Have I tried the new Copic fountain pens or fine nibs for Copic Sketch? I don't believe I have. I don't believe the fountain pens sound completely new to me. One thing I do want to look up here is some reference for the gun he's holding. Kind of going with a bit of a Luger there, so I want to make sure I get the details right on the Luger. So bear with me one moment. We'll edit this part out for the YouTube broadcast. search images. So let's pull up some Luger ref here. Just so I can keep things looking a little more believable, if not entirely accurate. Some level of accuracy. So I'm using the Pigma Micron 08, starting off with. Okay, so I've got the basic fist, knuckles, holding a gun pose down, and this is a type of hand I've drawn many times and I've practiced, so I've kind of got it logged in my memory. I actually researched and studied how a person's hand looks when they're holding a gun. Sometimes I'll hold a toy gun and just kind of study it. Sometimes I'll have my wife hold the gun so I can study it. So you definitely want to look up reference for study those sorts of things. Using my triangle here for nice straight clean lines. While I look at my reference material, just getting those shapes down, little details down. It just helps making draw a Luger or any type of object easier and more believable to your viewer. And by viewer, I mean the people that look at your art, not necessarily viewer of your broadcast, unless you're broadcasting yourself drawing a specific object, like the situation we're in now. So again, having to draw something I'm not used to drawing here is eating up some of my brain power. I do hope to catch some more of your questions here real soon. And I still plan on doing the Q&A at the end of the broadcast, so feel free to post or stick around for the specific Q&A a little later on. Okay, now, because I got some large sections here, I'm going to switch to my Zebra brush pen, the fine tip. Just allows me to get the type of line that I'm looking for in one stroke or a series of strokes. More so than a Micron multiliner. Is my commission list still about a 3-year wait? 3+ years, yeah. Yeah, it's still a long wait. In fact, my current list is closed due to overwhelming demand and my slow going with the studio commission. So actually there are no spots on my studio commission list at this time. But as soon as I can get back to work on those studio commissions and whittle that list back down to a reasonable place, I will announce when the list is reopened, but yeah, it's still a long wait due to work, convention travel, other responsibilities of life. So yeah, it's still a long wait. So if you're on the list, you got a long wait ahead of you. If you're not on the list, hopefully you can catch one of my convention commissions, or you know, you can catch when I reopen my list someday. What's the hardest thing I've had to draw? Hardest thing I've had to draw. I mean, there have been different things that have been challenges, like having to draw superheroes rescuing a cow. That was an unexpected challenge. Kind of a classic broadcast story I've told. Galactus. People know my reservations on drawing Galactus, at least as conventions anymore. But then I've had things like the Secret Empire #1 variant cover I did, where it was the Where's Hydra cover. That was really challenging and difficult to draw, but so much fun. Will I consider doing a commission as a live broadcast? Probably not, because when I do my commissions, I put a lot of focus into those commissions, because people are paying for those. There's an actual, they're actually paying for that. So my commissions get undivided attention, and so I wouldn't want to be distracted while working on someone's specific commission. I thought about it, but just realized that probably wouldn't work out for me as well as I would like. So I have not chosen to do that yet. But that's not to say I won't. It's just something I haven't chosen to do yet. And if you're on my commission list and I email you saying, hey, your commission's on deck and you would like for it to be a broadcast, it is something I would consider doing if you're willing and would actually like that to happen. We can discuss that. Can't say I can promise I would do that, but I would definitely be happy to talk about that with you and discuss that. See if that's a good way to go. What is my next character mashup? I don't know. Could happen at any time, so make sure you're subscribed to the Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page so that when I post asking for your suggestions again, you can get in on that. And also when I do the broadcast, you'll hopefully get a notification in your Facebook feed that that's about to happen so you don't miss out. But yeah, that Genum one was a lot of fun. Thanks for the kind work. Thanks so much for the kind words, I should say. Kind words, not kind work. Thanks for all the work you put into writing down words. So right now I just want to get these main shapes in. I'm going to come in here and add a lot of darks to his costume, his uniform I should say. Bucky doesn't wear a costume. Winter Soldier doesn't wear a costume as much as it is a uniform. Are the Pigma Micron Zebras brush pens sufficient for production pages as opposed to sketchwork? Yeah, I ink with my professional comic book stuff with these tools. Have been doing that for years. Just because they're the tools I feel most comfortable with. So sure, yeah. You can use pit pens, all sorts of multi-liners. Probably wouldn't want to use Sharpies, because they're not archival, so there is a potential that they could fade or degrade over time. So if you want your art to last, it's best not to use Sharpies anymore. As a material, I mean, I still use Sharpies for certain things, but not for my art, because I want my art, I don't want to risk my art not lasting. So. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back to the microns here for the face. Just because I don't want too thick of a line just yet. Do I use Prismacolor pens? No, I do not. Mainly because I started my marker investment with Copic markers, and I like the way Copic sketch markers blend, and the brush tip. From what I understand, and from my experience, my limited experience with the, I mean, I have a couple of Prismacolor markers, you know, when Prismacolor and the different art supply vendors, representatives come through Artist Alley at oftentimes San Diego Comic-Con, you know, they give us samples of their products, and which is fun, which is really cool. So I've you know, Prismacolor's come by and given me some of their, you know, one or two of their markers for me to test out. And from my experience, from what I've heard and my experimentation with them, they don't really blend really all that well. They're great if you want to do kind of like an animation cell shading sort of look. Maybe they do blend, and I just didn't have enough time or a big enough selection to practice from or to experiment with. But the ones I actually tried drawing with just didn't give me what I was looking for that I was achieving with my Copic markers. So Prismacolor is a great brand, but the markers I have used are not, you know, not giving me what I want that I get from my Copic collection. So nothing bad to say about Prismacolor, just not a brand that I use. And a big part of that is because I am already so invested in my Copic collection. There's no real need for me to invest in another marker brand. If I'd started with Prismacolors, then I'd probably be used to those and wouldn't be looking to switch over to Copic necessarily, or to Touch, or to any other marker brand. So it all just depends on what you can afford, or you've already invested in building your collection. Hope that makes sense. But I know a lot of people and a lot of pro artists that use Prismacolor, so I know they're a quality marker. Some smoke going off of his ignited incendiary device here. Just gonna have to throw this thing soon. Get this banded metal working. Switching back to the zebra brush pen. How long should a story be in your portfolio? Not terribly long. As long as you have like a good 5-page scene in your portfolio, that's enough for an editor to give a decent critique. Ideally, you want to have an action scene that winds down into a talking scene, or a talking scene that escalates into an action scene. But ideally, you want 3 to 5 pages that tell a complete scene, because an editor needs to see, can you tell a story visually? So having pinups in your portfolio, while it can be pretty, it's not, you're not going to get the kind of critique, the kind of information that you'd hope for or want from an editor, because comic books are about drawing stories, telling stories. So an editor needs to see, can you tell a story? Can you draw all the panels on the page? Can you make the characters emote? Can you make the characters move about? Can you move the camera around? Can you create a sense of urgency, a sense of calm, a sense of fun? Can you make it a believable world? Can you lead the reader's eye in a clear way from one panel to the next panel? Is your storytelling confusing, or is it clear? So these are critical things. This is what you're going to want in a critique. These are the things that you're going to get in a critique, and you want to make sure you are equipped for that. So you want to make sure you're able to get that kind of information in your critique from the editor. You know, they can say, work on this, work on that, or you're doing this right, keep doing this, but this you could stand to work more on. So you can study or practice your anatomy more, or your perspective, get that a little more tighter, a little more accurate. So 1 or 2 3 to 5 page scenes, maybe more than just 1 3-page scene, but if that's all you have, that's all the time you had to get done is 1 3-page scene, that's better than nothing. An editor can still get you a good critique off of that. They can get a good sense of what you can do, but you don't have to have like 20 pages in there. More often than not, that's too much. An editor only has so much time at a convention, so you don't want to just overwhelm them with a bunch of pages. You just want to give them enough that they can tell this is what you can do. They can tell garbage from gold pretty quick. And just because you don't get a job your first time you show a portfolio doesn't mean you got garbage. It just means you might not be ready yet. And we've all been there. Alright, so I've got all the main details in there, but now I want to fill in the black areas. So I prefer to erase first before I go doing the big dark areas. Just makes it easier when I fill in the blacks if it's already erased, because I already know where I'm going to put all those black spots. Okay, so now I'm going to take my Pentel Pocket brush pen. Did I end up reading Batman Elmer Fudd? No, I missed that comic. Was it good? When I'm sketching, what hardness of pencil do I prefer? I'm an HB guy. It's right in the middle there. Right between the soft and the hard leads. The B's, which are softer leads, and the H's, which are harder leads. How many years did I draw before any kind of work was published? Well, I started drawing at age 3, but I started pursuing a career in comics. Like I wanted to be a comic book artist when I was 14. So we'll say if I started at age 14, seriously wanting to be a comic book artist, though my art skills were nowhere near ready at all, but I started on that path. That was when I realized I wanted to be a comic book artist, so I started to teach myself how to draw comics. I got my first published work at age 21, so I would say that was 7 years before I had my first piece of art published, from the time I realized I wanted to be a comic book artist to the time it actually happened. And there was a lot of rejection leading up to that. See, I'm getting a low battery here. Let me plug my charger in. Oops, that's not the side. There we go. Don't want this to blank out on us. How do I remember the muscle structures and anatomy? Practice. Study and practice. When you do it a bajillion times, you just starts to become second nature. So, see, that's why we say practice. You're training your brain. You're memorizing how the muscles fit together, how they move in relation to each other. I still will look up life reference. I'll still study anatomy. just because it depends on the pose I want to draw. Maybe it's a pose I've never drawn before. I want to see how the muscles look if I draw a person jumping or kicking or running in a certain way, because the muscles change shape as they move. So depending on the pose you're doing, you have to see, is the muscle extended or is it contracting for the arms, the legs, the neck, the chest, the abs, things like that. So lots and lots and lots and lots of practice and study and practice again. And just you're just cataloging it into your head. So even once you learn it, you still practice it, you still study it. Just like, like in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers knows how to throw a football, He knows how to throw a Hail Mary pass into the end zone in his receiver, but he studies, he practices, He probably watches the game tape after the game, to study his form and what can he do differently, what can he do better. Same if you're in any sport, or even as if you're a performer, if you dance, you know how to do a certain move or a certain jump or spin or something like that, but you still study it, you still research it, you still find new or different or better ways of doing your craft. So that's how I know. That's how I know how to draw muscles and muscle groupings and things like that. Study and practice. And it's the same for clothing. Yep, it's pretty much the same for anything that we draw, really. The more we draw something, the more we get used to it, the more it gets locked in our brain. So if I drew Lugers all the time, I'd probably get I'd done it so many times that I can draw it without having to look up photo reference. Because I had done it so many times, I now am used to it. I can get it accurate enough just straight from memory. But that's just the way my brain works. Your brain may vary, and that's okay. Back to the 0.8 here. Just doing some hatching. Something to keep in mind when you're hatching is pay attention to the direction that you're going. Is it conveying the shape and form of the muscle? See a lot of young artists just putting lines down every which way. And it doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right because it's a bunch of lines going in different directions. You want to have them going in a direction that gives the shape. Like I chose to go, continue the flow around the curve of the cuff of his glove, coming up the curve of the muscle. We're giving that sense of shape and dimension, volume, and lighting. So all those little detail lines you see are not necessarily just haphazard lines that an artist throws down on the page. Ideally, there is a purpose, a reason, a vision in what we're communicating. So that it looks believable. We're going for believability here. But these crazy, wild fictitious, exaggerated characters seem real, even though no one is built like this, really. I mean, somewhat built like this, but not quite as exaggerated, I don't think. There are definitely dudes with big arms. There are definitely women with big arms. In my opinion, they must work out. What if you don't want believability? Then go for it. You do you. And I wish you all the best with that too. If you can make it work, good on you. Go for it. And when I say believability, I'm not talking about like real life drawing or anything like that. Like you're trying to be like Alex Ross, whose work is incredible. But his are like life drawing, painterly type illustrations. I'm not talking like necessarily that kind of believability, but that even with exaggeration, there's a sense of it all fits, it all connects. It all occupies that world, and a person can understand what they're looking at. Like they believe the world you have created. That's what I'm referring to by believability. Even in exaggerated form, there's still a sense of believability. Okay, I think we're at a stopping point for this broadcast. Sorry I wasn't as chatty here. But this is where we're at so far. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do another broadcast where I can do the color version, where I can do the Copic color for this Winter Soldier. All right, and there we go. There's the that's the line art here for this Winter Soldier piece here. This will be on my social media. You can see a scan of that or a photo of that. The link is in the information below. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing, and thanks for all the support, YouTube viewers, and also for those of you that watch on Facebook. Thanks for joining me live. Hopefully we'll get to do a Copic color illustration broadcast. cast soon and finish that Winter Soldier off. So in the meantime, stay well, keep drawing, and keep having fun, and I'll